Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between WhiteRa and MadFrog here on Lost Temple. Here we have MadFrog spawning as the blue Zerg player at the 2 o'clock position. Meanwhile, WhiteRa spawning over here at the 8 o'clock position as the red Protoss player. This shoutcast is sponsored by LU Computers. Go ahead and check out their website at lucomputers.com. They have StarCraft 2 tested computers on their homepage on the top right hand side. Meanwhile, Duckload, or sorry, this is going to be one of those things where I keep on reading Duckload Raw. This is really WhiteRa. Excuse me as I constantly mess that up as I generally try to read the player's name. Right now, WhiteRa just continuing to produce probes, did throw down some sort of a 9 pylon on this low ground, may try to go for a gateway and then a forge, but this is an odd positioning just because it's not really close enough to the choke point, and then a lot of that power field will be within where that nexus is going to be. So perhaps he's going to throw down a building here. I'm not 100% sure what WhiteRa's tactic is in this particular instance. MadFrog now moving out with this Overlord. Also threw down a 14, what I expected to be, no, not a 14 spawning pool. This is a very, very early spawning pool. Indeed, this was more like a 7 or 8 spawning pool. And now an Overlord being trained. So we're going to see a very, very fast Zergling rush. Now, as MadFrog now sitting at 11 over 10 food, is he saving up drones? Yeah, he is saving up larva. He is actually saving up larva. Now sitting on 2 larva. We'll be able to get to 3 larva in just a second. And now double training those Zerglings. So as soon as more Zerglings or larva's ready, yeah, going to be able to have 6 very, very quick Zerglings out on this map. We do have a gateway now coming in and a forge now coming in as well. Out comes this drone. Drone going to try to take down this pylon over here and then unable to stop that forge from being placed down. And now out comes that probe. Probe now taking some damage. Will this drone try to take down this one particular pylon? I don't think it will be able to, as WhiteRa needs to chrono boost this zealot to get it out in time. Probes now coming out, and now another pylon coming down. Very, very nice play from WhiteRa, making sure that this is not all powered by one building. And now this drone trying to get out some damage. There are already some zealots now being trained out. So one zealot now moving out, but the second zealot will be delayed for quite some time. Zerglings now trying to make their way. Will be able to deal a lot of damage towards that one zealot. That zealot and probes holding that line. And that one zealot down to 12 hit points, taken down finally. 2 Zerglings now trying to do the rest of the job, as 4 of those Zerglings have already been taken down. Zerglings now running through this base, now trying to perhaps poke away at these probes. No gas being laid down just quite yet, as these Zerglings now moving out, going to take down this one probe over here. We do have one zealot here, as we have one Zergling running around on the inside of this base. That Zergling does have a couple kills, sitting with 3 kills, as we have more Zerglings moving out. We do have a second zealot now being trained, and now with this photon cannon being warped in from the back, this will be much more difficult for MadFrog to really get any sort of harassment done. Back over here, we see WhiteRa continuing to train up more probes with no assimilator just quite yet. And MadFrog, on the other hand, has thrown down an extractor as well. And now in comes this fight. Zerglings trying to focus and take down the rest of these zealots here. More Zerglings coming to rejoin in. Photon cannon nearing completion. And he needs an additional 2 or 3 to be completed. And this last zealot is going to get, no, not going to get taken down. Zergling trying to get that last hit. Oh, but tie. So both sides, Zergling able to get that last hit right as it pecks away and gets taken down. One Zergling over here on the inside of the space, recharged up to 22 hit points, and now being forced to pull back. This Zergling just going to be able to run around on the inside, perhaps delay some of the mining on some of these probes, as 2 probes continue to move around here. We do have no units being trained up at all. More Zergling, the Zergling just running around on the inside. This Nexus will be finished warping in quite some time, as this hatchery is now completed. Back over here, we see the Zergling trying to engage against this probe. That Zergling cannot engage against that probe just quite yet, and now needs to run around this map. Hasn't gotten any additional kills there. Back over here, we are still sitting at tier 1, and we're finally getting a queen. So that queen will be able to come out and perhaps take down this one unit over here, take down this one probe. And now we are all off of one base. Taking a look at the harvester count, WhiteRa sitting on 22 harvesters compared to MadFrog's 18. And MadFrog, however, is getting gas, so that gas will be important. Also throwing down a cybernetics core to get some stalkers and perhaps some sentries. This one photon cannon with 4 kills, so absolutely important that this photon cannon was laid down. and we'll see how this is all going to work out. Back over here, we do have one spine crawler coming into position, and we do have some zealots that were trying to put a little bit of pressure on this front door. This spine crawler, however, will be able to complete just in time as those zealots come out. Zealots trying to engage against this queen. Spine crawler able to get off one poke and then pull back. Back over here, queen now going to be able to do another spawn larva in just a second, and MadFrog looking to start power droning, sitting on 25 harvesters now, and we'll be able to produce more and more harvesters, however pulling one off for another spine crawler. This one zergling, this hero zergling, still causing a lot of pressure inside the base of WhiteRa. WhiteRa does not want to get any units and does not want to send any probes to chase after it. This one zergling down to 6 hit points again. It's just able to dance through this base. We should see a stalker come out in just a moment as well. No weapons upgrade just quite yet, as more zealots are sitting here. Back over here, MadFrog continuing to just start power droning as much as possible. Second spine crawler will be completed in just a second. 32 harvesters versus 32 harvesters. Production wise, 8 more zerglings being trained as we are now going into tier 2. One queen down here. Surprised that a second queen has not been thrown down yet, and now in comes 5 zealots. So those zealots gonna take some damage. Queen needs to perhaps try to do some sort of block and try to stop these zealots from coming in. Zerglings now trying to deal more damage as well. Zerglings now gonna hold the ramp. Queen sacrificed herself, but these zerglings will be able to do a nice surround and stop these zealots from really dealing any real damage into the economy there. So sacrificing that early queen, and even though that is very, very important for the Zerg economy to get those queens for that spawn larva, and was able to, you know, save all of these drones here, as once those zealots got within this base, there's not much that MadFrog can really do. MadFrog currently producing more overlords, getting more extractors, and now going for that spire since he is at tier 2. Back over here, WhiteRa continuing to get more and more harvesters, sitting at 39 harvesters, so really using that chrono boost to his advantage, trying to get more and more units, and now throwing down more gateways. So now we are finally in the mid game as a zealot over here. Will these zerglings be able to do some sort of run by? And yes, able to do some sort of run by, taking down this one sentry and now pulling away robotics facility. Oh, another nice force field there. So these zerglings just taking down this one zealot there, and now these zerglings are going to have their way with these probes on this low ground here as this sentry continuing to warp, continuing to just try to hold its ground. More zerglings trying to do another surround here. In comes another force field. Zerglings dancing back and forth, unable to get any real attacks off, and now completely finishing off that attack. However, WhiteRa did lose some precious harvesting time in that fight and did lose a couple drones, but we do see 38 drones for WhiteRa as he continues to chrono boost more and more probes out, currently running off of 4 gateways and 1 robotics facility, now getting that observer. However, production wise, that spire should be completed in just a moment. Yeah, there it is. Spire now going to be completed, and we're going to see probably 6 mutalisks be trained up in just a second. So yeah, there's 4 mutalisks already, perhaps just waiting on additional larvae to train up those last 2. Yeah, the 6 mutalisks now being trained. Taking a look at the unit combination, the army combination, there's 5 stalkers and 2 sentries. So those units those stalkers and sentries will be able to hold their own against the army of mutalisks that will be coming out to engage them. Observer now moving out will be able to gain sight into the base and try to figure out what exactly the strategy is. More spine crawlers being morphed into play as we now have 4 mutalisks. We do have 1 observer there, and now with no detector, there is currently no detector, and now those stalkers and those sentries really smartly deciding to move back in order to protect this expansion. We do have a robotics bay now being thrown down. More stalkers need to come into play as well, and in comes an observer going to spot out this hatchery that's being thrown down by MadFrog. MadFrog now coming in with these mutalisks. However, really nicely placed stalkers warping in. Mutalisks will not be able to deal the damage that they want to. Zerglings, however, are going to try to do some sort of run by again and perhaps deal some damage over here. There are 2 photon cannons within the mineral line as well, so these mutalisks are just going to be forced to pick off pylons that are sporadically placed out throughout the whole entire map. Zerglings now going to try to run in and deal damage into this mineral line here. Probes poorly taking damage. We do have 1 photon cannon nearly taken down. Another photon cannon still firing away. Stalkers coming back in to engage, and now in come these mutalisks onto this high ground. Perhaps we'll be able to focus on some of these probes as well. These mutalisks now going to get taken down. One of them very low on hit points. One of them already, or 2 of them already taken down as these units decide to pull back. We do have 1 mutalisk sitting down over here. and now we are getting an additional extractor. So while MadFrog going to be running off of 6 gas, and as he runs off of 6 gas, we'll be able to do a lot of pressure with these Mutalisks. There is one observer there, and this one Zergling quickly getting taken down. Stalkers now moving their way down over here. MadFrog should probably cancel these extractors to save himself 50 minerals, and now no, going to lose these and lose those Mutalisks very, very easily. Mass Stalkers now coming in. Do we currently, production-wise, we do have more Zerglings and a level 1 Carapace upgrade for those Zerglings, so the Stalkers will have an even more difficult time trying to take them down. Overlords in the air over there. We did have one observer earlier, but Overlords now making their way off, and now just going to be sacrificed to these Stalkers particle disruptors, and down it goes. Zerglings, Mutalisks, however, continuing to do more harassment into that base, and now pulling back. So both sides taking heavy casualties. These armies are not really engaging each other as much as they are just fighting each other back and forth in each other's base. Back over here, we do have a lot of spine crawlers, so MadFrog is fairly well protected. But with Stalker Blinked now finished researching, those Stalkers will be able to blink off onto this high ground, and that's going to be very, very bad news indeed. There are some observers around through the field, and once those Stalkers are into this high ground, and there's nothing that really can stop them within this base. We do see another hatchery being laid down by MadFrog in the base of MadFrog. So now going into 3 hatchery play, 2 base, 3 hatchery play for additional units, perhaps trying to get as many Zerglings out as possible. Queen saving up a lot of energy to do more transfusions. And now these 10 Mutalisks are going to be trying to push back this whole entire large attack. 4 Dark Templars now running across the field. No observers in sight, no overseers, and now things are going to be looking very, very bad. Zerglings just dancing back and forth as one overseer cocoon trying to be hatched, and Dark Templars just getting tons and tons of kills off here. Overseer cocoon nearly completed. Zerglings just holding that ramp position as these spine crawlers have been completed, and now down go all of those Dark Templars there. 2 Dark Templars able to make it through. Overseer making its way over, and now this one Dark Templar getting 5, 6 kills. Finally taken down. Back over here, we do have the infestation pit coming into play. Stalkers now making their way through as well. Down goes another one of those units, and now in comes a sentry to block any additional reinforcements. Zerglings now doing a great job. WhiteRa doing a great job trying to blink away those Stalkers that are low on hit points, forcing those Mutalisks to try to re-get in within that range. But however, the Stalker numbers are just going to get slowly more and more dwindled as there's so many Mutalisks in the air, continuing to cause more and more pressure. Mutalisks now coming in, no more force field on that ramp. Zerglings able to continue to push, and these Stalkers are not going to be able to outrun any of these units. Mutalisks may be able to continue to do some chasing on those Stalkers, and this army of Stalkers is just going to get destroyed here. WhiteRa trying to move away with these Stalkers. Stalkers are not moving that quickly, need to start blinking even further as more units coming into here. We do see 1 photon cannon in position. Mutalisks trying to destroy the rest of these units, and those 2 photon cannon, 1 photon cannon left, another photon cannon finished warping in just a second as more Zealots now being warped in. Those Zealots are not going to be able to do a thing as there's no more Zerglings in this fight. Now Mutalisks, a dozen of them in the air, going to be able to take down this last photon cannon, this pylon, and finish off this rest of this army here. So these Zealots sacrificing themselves and not going to be able to really do anything. Zealot now pulling away, and this Nexus is going to get taken down. But there is another Nexus over here by WhiteRa, so WhiteRa getting another Nexus, may be able to continue to warp in more and more units as we now have an Archon warping into play. That Archon deals extra damage towards Mutalisks' bio, and also has a slight splash damage. So if those Mutalisks are grouping up like they are right here, that is going to be a very, very bad sign. Zerglings and Mutalisks coming in. This one Archon trying to fight back, trying to take down this whole entire large army. I think a good Psy Storm or 2 would have been better in this situation, as that Stalker being forced to pull back. Army-wise, WhiteRa really, really hurting, sitting at 125 mineral army, and that is it. Stay tuned for part 2 of this replay between MadFrog and WhiteRa here on Lost Temple.